This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Christine.
Christine, welcome back.
Thanks. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm
Tim-
still not Tim.
Tim's still got that baby. How long do you think that baby's good on its own and Tim will be back?
Yeah, able to kind of be home alone. I think that baby in a week or two.
Yeah,
probably.
why? I mean, it can't go anywhere. How much trouble could a baby get into by itself?
A baby is a potted plant for the first 9 years, give or take.
How are you doing this week, Christine?
Oh, I'm okay. Thanks for asking. Doing fine. How are you?
I'm good, Christine. I have a question for you.
Okay. I am happy to answer
I
this
feel like
question.
you would know. What's with this House of Gucci movie that's coming out?
What's up with this movie? I only know Lady Gaga is in
Okay.
it, and she's got an accent that she worked on.
I
but
just
I don't
remember
know
you
that
telling
much
me
about
a
it.
lot about a Gianni Versace thing.
Oh, you want to talk about that? I'll
No,
talk
I
about
don't.
that.
But I realized that this is finally this is the way probably you think about Marvel movies, where you're I don't really know what are these in the same universe? Are these people know each other?
Well, I think it's about a designer, but the show you're talking about that I was obsessed with is about a series of murders.
But
which
also
is
a
why I liked
designer.
it. Yeah, Gianni
All right.
Versace
Well,
was murdered
I
on
mean,
a staircase.
Captain America Civil War was about a disagreement between Captain America and Iron Man.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking of you on the way over here, partly because I was on my way over here, and partly because I saw an ad for Clifford the Big Red Dog, and I was like, that's a CGI masterpiece. I think Tom probably is going to want to see that in the front row of a movie theater.
Do you think I just like to go see CGI movies?
I think you like to go CGI. Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the Marvel universe. So I assume what you like is big.
Gianni Versace's in it.
He's been murdered.
He's Iron Man's designer. In this universe, he's still alive.
When I was
In this
watching.
universe, Iron Man saved him.
Wait. Oh, I got it. When I was watching the assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story.
Isn't it only an assassination if it's political?
Well, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I told you I haven't. I didn't know if that was what's coming out or what's already been out.
He shot him kind of point blank when he was getting his newspaper, mostly because he was famous and to sort of get more famous himself, and because he was at the end of a killing spree that was spanned multiple states and multiple bad choices. But what I want to tell you is that well, now I forgot what I was going to say.
So basically, if you're famous enough and somebody kills you, then it's an assassination?
I think so. Wasn't it an assassination of John Lennon? But it wasn't for political reasons. It was to get famous.
Yeah,
The attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan, which I feel like we
but
talk about every time. He's political already, but he did it to get Jodie Foster's attention, as we always talk about.
Yeah. And I mean, it did work. I'm sure she knew about it.
Yeah, we know about it.
It didn't get her attention the same way he wanted. Maybe he thought she was going to fall in love with him.
What did he think was going to happen?
Yeah, I should be impressed.
It's just such a weird way of thinking that someone's going to be like, oh, now that I know you exist, I'm obviously going to fall in love with you.
Yeah, it's almost like the guy's some kind of a nut or something.
So I remembered what I was going to say. When I was
Okay.
watching the assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, I would...
And now who is Gianni Versace?
Gianni Versace, an Italian designer.
Okay.
And he was played by a guy who looked like the guy from Just Shoot Me. Remember that movie, Just Shoot Me? I mean, TV
movie?
show? I misspoke. I misspoke. But it was a different man.
Okay.
But when I was watching the show, so many...
David Spade? Is that who you
The
thought
other
it was?
guy.
Oh, okay.
The photographer. Did you watch the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bald photographer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he looked just like the guy who played Gianni Versace,
Okay.
the Italian designer on the assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story. But when I watched that show, and Darren Criss played Andrew Cunanan in The Murderer,
Okay, yeah.
and for weeks,
So the handsome murderer.
pretty handsome murderer, but what a true psychopath.
Yeah.
I kept seeing men in North Brooklyn wearing hats and glasses that I was like, that's Andrew Cunanan. That's Andrew Cunanan. Oh my God, it's
And now Andrew Cunanan's dead?
Dead, killed himself.
Okay.
Killed himself on a
But-
houseboat.
But you still thought against all odds somehow.
I thought maybe he's not only still alive, still
Maybe
in
you were
his
just
20s.
seeing Darren Criss walking around a lot.
Maybe. You know, I
Yeah.
just the other day in my neighborhood saw Bowen Yang from Saturday Night Live just
Wow.
walking up the
From
street.
Saturday Night Live.
Love celebrities.
Who do you think is probably the most? Are there any handsome assassins?
Oh, great question. I do.
Like Lee Harvey Oswald's not bad looking.
He
right?
looks like Dana Carvey. Don't you think
Oh,
Dana Carvey, as a younger man, should have played Lee Harvey Oswald in a biopic?
maybe in
I think about
JFK?
this a lot. Yeah, which he was played by what's his name, Gary Oldman.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald, not hot.
Yeah.
What
No,
about
I disagree. I don't think he's hot, but I think he's like not a bad looking guy.
Yeah, he was a little squirrely looking. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, he was a little squirrely.
True, but he also maybe was
In
a patsy.
fairness, he was a lot squirrely, and he might have been a patsy.
What is the name of the man who killed Lincoln again?
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth, I think, was handsome.
Yeah, he was an actor, so yeah, I'm sure he was a good looking guy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Too bad.
All right.
Why'd he do
John
it?
Hinckley,
Not a
not
hottie.
a good looking guy.
Not a hottie.
Yeah, Sirhan.
Not cute.
Yeah, he wants to get out now too.
I know, and isn't it sort of shocking that he's still alive?
Yeah,
I feel like every
But
time
he
there's a
was, like,
headline about him, I can't believe he's
18
still
or 19 when he did that.
I didn't know
When
that.
the CIA hit the remote control button and made him do that.
I think you're thinking of the Manchurian Candidate.
No, that's what Sirhan always said, that like he was mind controlled by the CIA and like made to do it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Too bad about that whole thing.
All right. Well, you've answered my questions about
I don't know a thing about it.
this week also, I was very proud of myself. It was daylight savings time.
I remember. I can tell by how dark it is right now.
Yeah. And I that day changed the clock on the microwave. Like,
Sorry, that's the whole
fixed
story?
the clock. Yeah.
Oh,
But I thought about how, do you remember growing up? Mm-hmm. It's like the biggest trope of TV shows, setting the clock on a VCR or a microwave. It was like, the clock's
too hard
always
to do.
flashing 0.
I don't remember that.
I don't know if
from
it got
TV.
easier. What I'm thinking happened is it probably got a little bit easier, but probably also like everyone's technological acumen like
Yeah.
dramatically
by
raised.
150% or more.
Because every time, like, I have to do that in my car, too. Like, it doesn't automatically set itself. And every time I do it, I'm shocked at how easy it is.
It's pretty easy. They just make it so you just press hour and minutes. You know, a famous trope in my childhood home
Mm-hmm.
is my dad, and to this day, likes to change the clocks for daylight savings about 24 hours before they change and then brags about it. But everyone's like, what time is it? What time actually is it? And just this past Saturday, he was texting me, did you change your clocks yet? And the answer is no, because they haven't changed. First of all, they all change automatically with the exception of my
Yeah.
microwave and my stove and my wall clock and my coffee maker. But with those few
So most
exceptions
of the clocks in your home.
aside, all but my phone and my cable box, because yes, I still have cable. I needed to set myself. But no, I don't want to set it ahead of time, but we got to set it when it happens.
I mean, that's insane. That's just creating a different kind of problem.
It's just making confusion for confusion's sake. But then again, the apple doesn't fall so far from the tree, because when I had a car, I like to have the clock like about 10 minutes fast so that I wouldn't feel as late as, or I would feel later than I was to kind of trick myself.
Right,
to
but you
rush,
knew
I guess.
that was the case, so
Yeah.
you were late anyway.
But when anybody borrowed my car, they were like, your clock is wrong. I tried to fix it. I'm like, don't fix it.
So maybe you
But I don't
helped
have
some
that
of
car
those people, though, when they borrowed your car because they didn't know.
Yeah, so they'd show up early or
Yeah,
they'd
'cause
speed
that's happened-
dangerously in my car.
That's happened with me. Like, I've seen the clock sometimes and it's been wrong. I'd be like, oh, I got to go. And then you find out, like, oh, the clock was wrong, but you're kind of glad about it.
Yeah, because sometimes we get in our own ways as it relates to arriving on
Yeah.
time.
I also found out this week, I was looking at my DNA, not
Sorry.
literally, not,
Okay,
I
this is a
wasn't,
little
I didn't have the
personal.
microscope out. One of those like DNA services that I did a long time
You
ago.
sent
that-
your stuff in.
Yeah, that I now realize I shouldn't have. The Chinese government has access to like a lot of that stuff.
I didn't know that, but I know that's how they find some killers, because people
Yeah,
or
well,
their
that
family
too.
members send in their specimens.
Yeah, and honestly, if like I don't know, if like some second cousin of mine like is a serial killer, don't involve me.
What if it's somebody closer than a second cousin?
No, then I don't want to know.
Wait, you think you would intentionally cover for a family member if you found out they were like the Golden State Killer? I know the Golden State Killer's already been found, but like
Right.
someone akin to the Golden State Killer.
If Andrew Cunanan can come back to life, then
Yeah.
who's to say? No, I mean, I don't think I'd be able to with DNA either. But what was it I was reading? There was like some Chinese company that was like, I think they were selling pregnancy tests, and it turned out the Chinese company was like under the military arm of the government, and they were just getting everybody's DNA. And then also like all the ones in the US, they, license out their databases and like.
But that doesn't track because a pregnancy test doesn't go to some database center. You just see if there's 2 lines.
Well, this, I think they were like, we need your pee-pee or something, or blood and pee-pee, both if you got it. If you can spare some.
Having not read the study about this quote Chinese company unquote.
No, it wasn't even a study. It was on YouTube.
Oh, that's where you get your news.
Yeah,
So that's part of the problem.
Well, it's not where it wasn't news. It was research. No, I forget. It might not have been for pregnancy tests. That was like part of it, but there was something else. But it was more about the fact that like all these companies like 23andMe and Ancestry, like other companies can just license those databases.
It's like a real problem.
And like companies in China that it's like, oh yeah, we're an independent company. Can we license? And then, our DNA is sitting in some Chinese government database.
I don't really like feel that worried about privacy because it is what it is and we're living in a digital
Well, they're
world,
working
but
on
yuck.
bioweapons that can target based on DNA.
I don't want to know that, I think. I think I want to just like be willfully ignorant. Do you remember before we really were alive that pregnancy tests were done with rabbits?
What?
Like you would put your pee near a rabbit and if they passed out, you were pregnant. I don't think that's right, but it was something like that you would.
Oh, I like vaguely remember something like that.
And I don't think it hurt the rabbits, but maybe the rabbits.
Yeah, but the rabbits probably didn't love it.
No, because it's like human urine or possibly blood that they were able to detect if it was like hormonally pregnant.
Huh.
Pretty interesting, but I don't really have all the facts.
Well, luckily you don't need them on this show.
Yeah, the complete guide to, I think I read about this once about 15 years ago.
I think I saw a YouTube video about this. Christine, this week we're talking about this was well, I guess last week was a Christine topic as well.
Yeah, I'm really ruling the school these days.
Yeah, you're ruling with an iron fist that Tim was too weak-willed to exert.
That's what everybody's saying. I came in like the Kool-Aid
And you
guy.
know what? I actually like both these topics are topics that like have been on lists for us to eventually get to. And are we calling this adult friendship or like making friends as an adult?
I think we call it adult friendship so that we
Okay.
can talk about the trials and tribulations of maintaining adult friendships, but also some of the difficulties and joys of finding adult friends as a fellow adult.
There's a good website, adultfriendfinder.com, where you can find friends.
It's not what you think it is, or if it's what you think it is, then your idea of friendship is really different than mine.
I assume we're mostly talking about finding friends, and I have an article here from ideapod.com.
Never
It's
heard
one
of
of
it.
my favorite websites.
Sounds reputable.
It's not one of the top things that came up when I just Googled how to find friends
Which
as an adult.
And like, I'm assuming that wasn't the first time you'd Googled that was for
No,
the
it
show.
it auto-filled. It was actually in my bookmarks bar. But this has 18. I don't know if I'm gonna get through all these, but 18 easy steps to making friends as an adult.
Before you launch into the 18 easy steps, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Tom, do you
Yes.
consider yourself an adult?
Yeah, I consider myself an adult.
By age, we're both adults.
Right.
I think of myself as a
child.
as a young person, as a younger person than I am.
Well, I got bad news for you.
And when's the last time you made a new friend?
Oh, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Well, we've only known each other for 14, so
Oh, you
is this
consider me a friend?
how I just found out we're not yet. We haven't crossed the
No,
threshold.
maybe one day we'll get there. The last time I made a new friend, I mean, the pandemic's kind of thrown a wrench into the friend making
I
business.
agree.
Um,
It is a bit. It's good to think of it as a business.
but probably a while because I don't know. I'm introverted. I am. You're
that
not.
true?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
Watch this.
Okay, I'm gonna narrate the experience. He's gone quiet.
Um, but I'm not good in like social situations. I'm not
That's
good in. So I don't know. I've never been. Here's my problem.
Yeah.
I made a bunch of good friends when I was very young, and then managed to keep them
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
most part my whole life.
I think you and I are both examples of adults who are still friends with people we knew in like kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
I am, and you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that early for me, but like first and second grade. Yeah.
I mean, that's really close. I have two friends I knew in or pre-kindergarten. But I have several that I went to high school with, and I know you do too. that
Yeah.
I'm still in
Oh,
touch
yeah,
with.
yeah.
That's-
And-
my
and-
phone's blowing up with texts from people I went to high school with
in
right
high
now.
school. But like in college, I was not very good at making friends.
Mm.
Certainly freshman year, I made like towards second semester, I started to make some friends.
Were you mostly focused on your studies?
Yes, sure.
Or you were focused on walking by where they were filming One Tree Hill?
No, that was different. That was a different time.
Well, I don't know.
um,
I haven't read your biography.
but I don't know. No, I think I was just kind of like introverted and wasn't into like a lot of the same, especially like college stuff, like going to like basketball games and football games and stuff. Like that wasn't really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't want to join a fraternity, so that wasn't interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was very interested in going on my computer.
Yep.
So I would do that
playing
a
The
lot.
Sims, playing Snood.
Yeah. Going on Napster, downloading the hot new MP3s.
Oh my God, Napster as a freshman in our era was like a pig in shit.
But so basically the point I'm trying to make is that like and I remember I was such a shit in college that I like told people like, oh well, you guys are like just my friends for now until like I go back to New York and then
See my real friends?
Yeah, see my real friends.
That's a little tough. That's
Yeah,
not
it is shitty, and like it was also kind of true.
Yeah, it's interesting to be forthright about that kind
Yeah.
of thing. You're my friends for now. Anyway, we can talk about how to make new friends.
Because I like I fell out with just like lost touch with a lot of people from college.
Oh, got it.
Although now I recently like reestablished contact with some people, which is nice. But yeah, otherwise I think I'm a tough person to become friends with because
you're so mysterious.
Well, no, just because in my mind I'm like I got enough friends. I don't need any more.
You're like, I'm not here to make friends. When you're in a social situation.
Acquaintances, sure, but this point in my life, it's going to take a lot.
Yeah, the bench is full.
Yeah, the
You're
bench
not
is full.
recruiting.
You're really going to have to, dazzle me. You're going to really have to bring something big to the
Right.
table.
You got to fill some sort of.
I mean, what I
quota
could
that
use,
doesn't
I don't
exist.
have like that many like really rich friends.
Yeah, I think we could all use a few more rich friends.
Yeah, I would like that. If like, and I'm talking like really
Like,
rich.
oh, let's meet on
Not
my
like,
boat
oh, that
and we'll
person's
jaunt
doing
off.
well. Like, no, that person couldn't spend all their money if they tried.
I have a couple of. Do I have a couple of rich friends? I have a couple of people I know are doing well,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have one sort of. I don't want to rank her in case she's listening, but like I have a friend who's like the kind of person that's like, we'll go to my favorite place and get whatever you want to eat and I'll pay. But I don't know if that counts as like rich.
Well, do you know anything about their financial situation otherwise?
I mean, I know.
Or it's just somebody that treats you to lunch once in a while.
I mean, it's a little more.
And you think they're Elon Musk as a
Well,
result.
no, it's a great point. I know this person is not like Elon Musk, but I do know that like she's been doing well for a long time and she's generous with it. And sometimes she'll buy me these $40 candles that we both like.
Wow.
It's a real get for me.
Does this person ever like buy you clothes and then request that you wear them to the meals.
I promise there's nothing weirder about
They
it than
never
what I've already
like
said.
send you a cocktail dress and say like, oh, it'd be lovely if you wore this to our meal.
Right. It's never been like a sort of like pretty. I've never seen Pretty Woman, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
I'm not like a kept. I'm not like a kept woman for this person, and I've given her gifts too. It's just $40 seems like a lot for a candle, you know.
Well, it depends on how big the candle is. If it's one of those like big, like the ones they have during Easter at church, imagine those.
It's like a
those
regular
will set you
sized,
back.
It's a regular sized, but like
But nice.
environmentally friendly candle that smells really nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I've not made many friends recently. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I made a few.
Mm-hmm.
But I read that most adults haven't made a new friend in the last 5 years, and I'm here to tell you that's not true for me. I have.
Oh, la-di-da.
I'm pretty proud about
Well,
it.
you're
It's a real
not
feather for my
most
cap.
adults then, I guess.
I'm a kid.
Yeah.
I'm a young person.
It stinks too, because I'm a moron. Because there have been people that like have. What would you say? Come on to me as a friend. Like people were, I can tell, like this person wants to be, wants to be a friend, and I like them, and they're cool. But then I just drop the ball entirely.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that's sort of trickiest about adult friendships is we're all busy, and it is sort of a courtship to go from like an acquaintance to a friend, and both people have to kind of try.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of us are kind of like, it's a bit of a dance. And so, and I think, you know, when you're in environments where like maybe you have a new job or maybe you like become acquainted with your neighbor or something where there's proximity, it's different than if it's like you're both at the same parties, but then you're going to cross the threshold to we're actually friends.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you kind of feel like you have to come on to somebody or reject or accept someone's advances to become their friend.
Well, I was going to say that I haven't had, like, I wasn't thinking about that example, which is a good example of, like people you see at the same parties a lot because, I mean, none of us have been to parties
for
but
so
like,
long.
But that's a little different because then it's like, all right, this person's been somewhat vetted.
Right. They're not a stranger.
Yeah. And also like becoming friends with this person would like be beneficial for everyone.
Right.
Like, because then it's like, great.
Worlds
more
are colliding.
people within these social circles know each other, hang out. I mean, I don't do that. Whenever I go to like parties and, you know, I'm always a person who's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And they're like, Tom, we've met 5 times.
Well, and that reminds me, of course, of a story of one time when we were at a party of mutual friends and a good friend of yours and I were introducing you to someone you've definitely met before.
Yeah.
And
No.
you and Tim were both like acting like it was an episode of Black Mirror, which I've never seen, or an episode of The Twilight Zone, which I have seen, or just some kind of prank, which I like to do, but this wasn't one where you were like, you're just like subbing this person in.
No, yeah.
for a
We
person
felt
who's
like
not
we
at
were
this
being
party.
gaslit because this is a person we had never, ever seen before
You
in
had
our
you had
lives.
100% met her before,
And
we
you
were like
guys were just
reintroducing
like, oh,
you.
look
You
at
know
it.
each
and
other.
this person was like acting like they knew you and you knew them.
We did, and I think it's one of those things where, you know, at a birthday party of mine back when there was such a thing as birthday parties, a very good friend of ours and a very good friend of ours met, and none of us could believe.
A very good friend of ours and a very good friend of ours.
I'm trying to not use names because
Okay.
I mean, I don't think this story is not like does not reflect poorly on anybody, but it was after my hockey game birthday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which was a real worlds collide situation because I had coworkers and people I went to college with and people that I know from Brooklyn and people I know from podcasts. I'm just kidding. That's just you. And Tim. And yeah, like people that have been on the scene for 10 years.
Oh.
We're like, oh, hi, I'm blank.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Well, this is very good.
unnecessarily coy about the individuals. But the fact is, when you're around a lot of the same people all the time, but they just haven't been at the same party, it can feel like the Twilight
Yes.
Zone or an episode of Black Mirror because you would have assumed they would have met.
Yeah. Well, I still contend I'd never met this person before that you Pretended you knew very well. Step 1 on IdeaPod for
Let's hear
making adult friends. Say yes to all the invites.
No, that sounds exhausting. That sounds exhausting.
It sounds exhausting, but if you're like trying to make new friends, I think especially this is coming from a place of like maybe you've moved to somewhere where you don't know anyone.
That's what I was thinking about too. If you're like, you've had a breakup and you've lost all your friends in the breakup,
right, yeah,
and you really need to start from
because
scratch.
they all like your significant other a lot
and
more
they're
than you.
probably right to do it.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
you were
a real
like,
piece of crap.
Choose me or him, and
Yeah.
they were like him.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah. So like, yeah, if you've already got a busy social calendar, saying yes to any invites,
Exhausting.
a bad idea.
But if you're hungry for adult friends or you don't really have a social calendar, you got to say yes.
Let me preface it with this, or not preface.
You've been talking for 45 minutes.
Make an addendum here.
Yes.
Uh,
No.
If this is your gambit, you want to make friends and you want to say yes to invites, don't show up late.
Oh, gosh.
Because people do that, and then it's like, well, you show up late, and now the party's rolling.
And everybody's found their niche, and you have a harder time, and you feel like you're not good at parties because everybody's already talking to each other. That's right. That's true.
As much as it like sucks to like show up early or first, you're better off that way because you're gonna get more one-on-one time with people, and you're gonna like already be there when other people show up.
And you can like find and identify the people that are either also there early or
Right.
are there and are warm enough to let you talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a wedding I went to I didn't know anyone else at. And I saw one person looked vaguely familiar, but I got there well before we were seated for the ceremony. I knew some people that were coming. But it was just like there were two friendly faces that I
Yeah.
went up to be like,
Hello.
hey, I don't really know anybody here. How do
Yeah.
you know who you know?
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you're like sneaking in late. And then
No,
everyone's like, you're
'cause
disrupting
then
the wedding.
people are like already drunk and they're already like having fun in their groups.
And they've connected with the, depending on what kind of event it is, if everybody already knows everybody and you're the person that doesn't know anybody,
Yeah.
you can't show up late.
Depending on what kind of event it is, that person might have gotten married.
Yeah, exactly.
They
If
might
you're
not
late
be
to a
looking for
wedding,
new
that's
friends.
rude.
Step 2. Well, this goes along with it. Are all these steps bad?
You didn't vet the article.
Step 2, be a little braver.
Oh, that's
We're all scared of rejection. That's why we rarely go out of our own secure comfort zones. But a little bravery, start conversations, ask an acquaintance for a cup of coffee, go to that book club meeting anyway. Sometimes people will say yes, sometimes they'll say no. Don't take it personally.
yeah. Be a little braver. That's good advice.
Yeah. And again, especially like somebody wants to be, I mean, I'm guessing I'm going to be swarmed with people courting my friendship now.
Now that you
Like,
put it out there that you're an introvert, people are like, he's a tougher nut to crack.
Well,
I'm gonna get in on
like to become friends with me, if you want to
Oh,
be
it's a real
my
prize.
friend, like the Spice Girls song,
Yeah.
you're
this
gonna have to like aggressively pursue me.
You got to zig a zig.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be like Pepe Le Pew, and I'm gonna be like that cat with the stripe, because just a hard guy to pin down.
But I think I don't love that because I do feel like Pepe Le Pew is like fairly coercive. But I think that it's true that you have to really cross the line from friendly to the threshold of like, oh, I want to be friends with you. I'm not just
Yeah.
a friendly person.
So you're saying like peacock, be like
Yeah, strut
oh
about.
no, you're saying if you want to be friends with somebody, make your intentions known.
No, neither. I think what I'm saying is, you got to be braver and not think that it just happens organically.
Yes,
You kind
yeah.
of have to be able to say, like, oh, I'm enjoying this conversation at a party. Let me get your number.
Yeah. Or just show up
will
at their
you be
house
at the
later.
next book club session. Yeah, it's a fine line because you don't want to make anybody uncomfortable ever.
Well, that's step 3. They have
Make someone uncomfortable.
No, join a new group. And it says if you love reading, join a book club. If you like fitness, sign up for classes at the gym. Making friends is easier when you have something in common.
So when I was thinking about the topic of adult friendships, I was like, I'm going to goof on meetup.com because I think meetup.com is probably pitiful. And then I went and looked at meetup.com, which I have never looked at before because I'm still friends with people from kindergarten. I've never needed to. I'm so lucky. Meetup.com is not sad or pitiful. It
No.
seems like it's just like, oh, everybody has an interest, including friendship.
Yeah.
There were so many things that were like speed dating, but for friends.
Yeah.
And like, that's great.
There are apps for friends now.
Some of the dating apps have are you just
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for a friend?
Well, that's just
Oh.
like really makes somebody feel shitty. I think you can just move them over to that tab.
I don't know. I don't know. if
I
you
think
can,
that's why they
categorize
included
the
them.
people. Oh, that's
You
pretty
can either
rough.
swipe left, swipe right, or I don't know, like triple tap, and it'll just make them a friend.
I did see that there was a meetup group for like landlords have it bad too, and I was like, can you imagine a worse meetup group?
You should
that's
have
just like
gone
a
to that.
bunch of landlords. That would have been good research.
Yeah.
I'm a renter, Tom.
Me too. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that makes sense, like meetup.com type things. I mean, I should probably do that. Like I said, I have friends. Well, I have too many friends as it is. But but I often get frustrated that like certain things that I'm into, like
None
none
of us
my
care about.
friends
No
give
one
a
you're
flying
friends
shit
with
about.
care about at all.
Not only that,
Like what?
they'll be mean to me about it.
Clifford the Big Red
Not
Dog.
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Like what?
I got weird stuff.
Stuff you've never mentioned to any of us.
Stuff I'll never tell anyone. I'll take it to the grave. Thank you.
Well, then it definitely sounds like you're trying to be braver with your
No, like
friends.
nerdy things that I'm into.
Oh, yeah, that nobody cares about.
Yeah, that, and unfortunately, I've got a lot of cool friends, and they're too busy at Studio 54 to go see a Marvel movie with me or go to the arcade and hang out.
I would always go to an arcade.
Yeah,
I've been to one arcade with you.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were at an arcade together,
Not
Tom?
really.
It was for another
Like I said, I've got a lot of friends.
birthday party of mine. My the surprise party at Planet Hollywood.
I was
first
not at
moved
that.
to-
Yeah.
Oh, I've written you into my memory. We went to Dave
no,
and Buster's.
I don't think
after.
I was invited. I don't think you considered me a friend yet.
It was a surprise party. I wasn't.
Well,
no
then
one-
everybody else didn't consider me a friend of
Everyone
yours.
was like, they haven't crossed that sacred threshold.
yeah. And if you invite them to Planet Hollywood too early, it'll just scare them off.
I was seated next to people I'm no longer in touch with. So if that makes you feel any better, I mean, no hard feelings. Just,
Was it a celebrity?
Yeah, I was seated next to Bruce Willis and who else? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And Sylvester Stallone.
So this is
Come
one of your
on.
niche interests.
Three
that, like,
powerhouses.
Probably this should have been your surprise party, actually, but it was
Yeah,
mine. It was
I
a real
wish.
surprise.
Well, it wouldn't be a surprise now if they have it for me. So thanks for nothing.
It's also been closed for like more than 10 years.
What? Number 4.
I'm ready.
Way to reach out to old friends.
Okay. That's not
Give
a way
an
to make
old
new
friend a
friends.
call and set up a date to catch up with them. Make the time to make space in your life for them again. Well, I think, in fact, old friends are often the best people. They're not fake friends. They really care about you deep down. I mean, maybe not if you haven't.
Yeah, if you've fallen out of touch or it's gone sideways.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
also not how
I
to make
guess
new
that's-
friends, right?
Uh,
This list is bunk.
yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, how about making your old friends into new friends?
Yeah.
But I guess there's two different. If you've fallen out of touch because you've had a falling out, then that's going to require something else.
Yeah, that's work.
But if it's just somebody that you haven't talked to in a while,
Right.
yeah. Although I think a lot of times, I don't know, as you get older, you find like, there's like a reason. And it's not like necessarily a bad one.
No, but just like it hasn't been, if you haven't occurred to each other for a while,
Yeah.
there's probably something there, right?
Right. And also, if it's like we were friends in 4th grade because we both like soccer. But nowadays, we don't have anything in common.
It is also interesting.
It's still good to reconnect with those people, but I don't think you can necessarily turn an old friend into like a big new friend.
Yeah, and it's like a real way to what's the right way to say this? I guess it's like you can really discover if there's like a substance to a friendship versus if it's like, oh, we just like to talk crap about people.
Right.
Or like, we had things in common that we no longer do. Or like, oh, you've become a Republican and you're mean. and I no longer.
Or like, oh, I thought you were rich now, but
You were
now
going to buy me $40
now I'm
candles, and you're only
learning
buying me $10 candles.
that I'm having to pay for my lunch, and you will not be getting a call from me again. Do you have any advice, Christine,
I love
about
to give advice.
maintaining adult friendships?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot of advice about it because I think one of the main things that a person has to do to maintain adult friendships is pay attention and show up. That's my advice.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
That's why we're business acquaintances only, Tom, because you're so introverted.
You have too many friends, I would say.
Thank you for noticing.
No, because like I don't know. Sometimes I go to things that like you're maybe hosting or like kind of, and there's like a bunch of people, and I'm like, who the hell are these idiots?
But they're great. And once you
well,
talk to
I
any
don't
of
know
them,
if
they're
they
great.
are. Well, I refuse to
Have
talk.
you ever been
I
in-
stand in the corner. I show up late and stand in the corner.
One of the things I was reading says like about adult friendships, one of the things you have to do is not only show up, but you also have to show up and not just pet the corgi in the corner. Was the phrasing that it said. And I think that's good advice. You gotta circulate. You gotta talk to your friend Christine's other friends.
Yeah, but if there's a corgi in the corner, you can pet the corgi.
Yeah, but you don't have to stay in the corner. Maybe you could do it in a more central location.
I don't know if I'm allowed to retell this story.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names. A friend of ours who you know.
Okay. Intrigued.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. He was just telling us about somebody, me and Tim. Tim's the other guy that hosts this podcast with me sometimes.
Usually you're used to me now, though, everybody. Remember
Exactly,
Tim? Do you even remember Tim?
That's the way this show works. It's just burn the past.
Amnesiac.
He was telling us that somebody I think was like mingling, looking for new friends at a party, and came up to him and introduced himself, and then just said, "So tell me, are you a movie guy or a music guy?" Like those are the two.
Those are the two kinds of guys you could be.
Two kinds of guys. You can be a music guy or a movie guy, and nothing in between.
Never the two shall meet.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Where I feel like most people would be like, I enjoy both.
Yeah,
They're two very
like
popular
to
forms of
enjoy-
entertainment.
Right, exactly. I like to watch a movie and listen to music.
But sometimes I like to watch a music video
Yeah.
and listen to a movie.
Right. That is really weird. And I do think there are some people that are so formal about the way they approach getting to know somebody. And that's so off-putting, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's similar to like a pickup.
Totally. And like is small talk in the worst way, where it's kind
Yeah.
of like, I think these are interesting questions,
Yeah.
but they're actually making you kind of identify yourselves in ways that don't really fit.
Yeah. And also, I'm going to force an icebreaker on you in like a social situation.
Is there anything worse than a forced icebreaker? Although I used to really lead with this, would you rather? Do you know would you rather? And I was just thinking about the other day because
Just the question of would you rather this or that?
Yeah, and the question was, would you rather have tiny little corn teeth and laugh like, how, or would you rather have 2 rows of shark teeth and laugh like this? You got to really throw your head back, which you can't see on the video.
The corn teeth are made out of corn, or they just look like corn?
They look like corn, and they're tiny, like little corn kernels.
I mean, corn kernels are about teeth sized.
but they're like soft and just like a row of corn on the cob teeth. Like it's just they're barely
but they're
jutting out.
soft. So I can't chew anything.
I mean, they're teeth. They're still teeth,
right.
but you can't bite anything because they're not. They don't.
Okay.
They have soft, rounded, or they have like rounded ends.
Yeah.
Anyway, I used to ask this in college in particular. I was like, "This is a good way to get to know somebody. Would they
That's a
rather have the
good
corn
way
teeth
to
or the
get
shark
to know
teeth?"
my professors.
I wouldn't put it past me to ask a professor, but I don't think I
What the hell
did.
does that? How
I'm
does
still
that
friends.
helps you get to know somebody? What about the answer lets you?
It's because
Gives
if you
you
have
any
to
insight.
decide, would you rather have frightening
Uh-huh.
teeth or soft, inedible, like rounded teeth?
Yeah, and starve to death.
I'm not saying it's a great question, but I'm saying I used to ask it a lot. And most people chose shark, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I couldn't testify to that in open
You're,
court.
you're friends with a
That's
lot
what
of
Freaks.
scary, aggressive people.
Yeah, thanks for noticing. They're usually at my parties.
But I feel like at a party, I don't know, you don't need to overthink it if you want to say hi to somebody.
Right. or be like, tell me if you're a music guy or a movie guy.
Right. You can just say like, hi, I'm Tom. What's your name? How do you know the person doing this party? And right there, that's going to lead you into a conversation. Or like, I feel like I've seen you before. We've met before.
Yeah, remind me of your name.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I don't know if we have
And then
met
maybe
before.
they'll have a friend who will insist that they've met this person multiple times.
You had met her before.
I've
I'm
never met her
100%
before.
sure.
Nope.
And since.
Yes, since, but not before. Since I remember.
I know, but I feel like there were like 2 or 3 years where you guys would bring up that story all the time and be like, that was a prank. It wasn't.
Yeah.
You just don't remember.
Ask for introductions. Step 5.
Mm-hmm.
Use your own inner circle to look for possible new friendships. I feel like that's also a good, if it's like friends of friends, like, I mean, I've done that more. I feel like with like, not business type stuff because it's
That's like
business,
actually
but it's like
networking?
creative stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
more
Your
like,
artist friends.
Yeah, more like, oh, like I'm working on something and I need somebody that can do X, and like, oh, my friend does that.
Yeah, that's true. But that's a little more transactional than I think like.
Or I'm
true
looking
friendship.
to do this. This guy does this. Maybe they can offer me some advice.
That's also advice. Okay. Yeah, that's
not
true.
necessarily like I'm going to hire them to score my movie, but
Or well, why would you score a movie if you're a movie guy? You wouldn't like music
yeah,
if
that's
you're a
true.
movie guy.
No music in my movie.
And I think that's actually like a pretty good entry point to a friendship is like, oh, this person knows a lot about what you're talking about or what you're interested in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps you want to connect with them. Because it is true that like you can get to know somebody on pretty surface level stuff. But once you're actually talking about like, here's some of my interests. I love Marvel movies, for instance, or I want to talk about
I didn't know that
Frasier.
about you.
Shoot, I was portraying you. Maybe I didn't use a deep enough voice. Do I sound like you?
Yeah, perfect.
I like Marvel movies.
I like Marvel movies.
And game nights. I feel like there used to be this like real thing where when we could get together safely indoors
Yeah.
and somebody would host a night and it was either about an event because somebody's birthday or whatever, or let's get around a circle and play games. And
But that's like, but then if you're in that, maybe then you already have friends.
well, you already have the friend who invited you. You might not be
Right.
friends with the people in the room. And then I feel like you see this like side of folks if you're playing, for instance, Celebrity or what's that other game?
I don't know, charades.
Yeah, you never came to any of those parties.
No, I told you, I got enough friends.
You hate having fun. But I do think that like part of what can let one's guard down is either drinking and or having something that you're all rallying around, which is why a meetup group about landlords.
Right.
You're
Where
already
you
in there
just
because you
gripe
want to
about
talk about
tenants.
your tenants that like put nails in the wall.
You know what? I put plenty of nails in these walls, and I'm not taking them out. I'll take them out if they ask.
You want to get your deposit back.
Step 7.
Okay.
Don't limit yourself to friendships with the same sex. You've heard it said before, you cannot be friends with the opposite sex. They say it's messy and makes things complicated.
That makes me so mad. I could
Men and
spit.
women simply cannot be friends. That was why I said, I don't consider you a friend, because I believe men and women can't be friends.
Cool. That's great. I really like the idea of limiting the people you can be friends with to only the people of
Half.
your same sex. Exactly. And nobody that's not, anyone that's non-binary, forget
Yeah.
it. They don't get to be friends either.
Nope, they can only be friends with other non-binary people.
Yeah, you can
That's the
only
way
be
it all-
friends with
unfortunately,
people
that's just the way
identifying
all
the
this
exact
works.
Same as you. That feels like really weird advice to be like, consider that you could be friends with people who
Yeah.
aren't your same sex.
Friends from the opposite gender help you think more rationally.
Oh, come on.
They show you perspectives you've never seen
Oh
before.
my God.
As long as boundaries are clear,
Okay, that's so annoying to me.
female male friendships. Well, I feel like that's more about like new friends. Because I think in that case, maybe if you're inviting like a stranger,
Yes, it is absolutely true that if you say like, come over to my house so we can make dinner together, that's
Yeah.
very different if someone thinks
Right.
you're flirting with them versus if
yeah,
someone
or
thinks that
I'd like
you're
to
just
take you out to dinner.
Yeah, I want to take you out to a nice dinner.
I'd like to take you out for a nice surf and turf.
I want to
I've
See
never
you
had
chew your meat.
I've never had a friend take me out for surf and turf. But
Yeah.
I've had a lot of women take me out for surf and
That's a
turf over the
flirtatious
years.
gesture where you come from. But it's so presumptuous that like everything that's forward or social is necessarily a flirt, and that anybody who's flirting with you that's not the same sex as you could be flirting with you, which also presumes a lot of heteronormative and maybe even like a little bit of a highfalutin. If you're talking to me and you're a
Not
boy,
only
you probably want to go on a date with
heteronormative,
me.
but also highfalutin.
Yeah, it's a formal
The
diagnosis.
two worst things you can be.
I think so too. I know you're not kidding.
Well, I think this next step you're gonna like. Smile more.
I've just vomited. It's like, you know, it flummoxes me a little. Now I'm using some of my highfalutin
Wow.
words here too. To think that it's important to be friendly. I think a person should have a smile on their voice if they are trying to get
A smile on
someone
their
new.
voice.
Yeah.
If somebody has a smile on their voice but they're frowning at me, I'm gonna get the hell out of there. That's like
I'm gonna try it. It's hard to do.
yeah, exactly.
Hi, Tom. Wait, why does my voice get so
Yeah,
much deeper
because
when
you
I
got
have
a frown on your.
Try to use a smile on your voice with a frown on your face.
I don't even know what a smile on my voice is.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
Yeah, you kind of did it. You're more grimacing.
I
than
like.
frowning.
I feel like I sounded like a friendly lurch answering the door
Hello.
instead of you rang. Hello.
I guess a good way to try to make adult friends is like don't talk to anyone of the opposite sex, and embody your favorite character from the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Which mine is probably Wednesday.
Yeah.
Who's yours?
I do like Lurch.
Lurch
but I like Gomez. His
he's the
lust
best.
for life.
Yeah, especially as played by Raul Julia.
Yeah. But Pugsley's good.
Pugsley's great.
Cousin It.
I kind of feel like my
Morticia.
Morticia's a babe.
Yeah.
Mega babe. Smile
Uncle
more.
Fester.
What if you're...
I think I'd avoid Uncle Fester.
Uncle Fester was a real...
He's a weird
killjoy.
guy.
quite literally.
Well, he could put the light bulb in his mouth. That was his one party trick.
I bet I could do that.
What were you going to say?
Just that, like, I think it's an important thing about friendship is that you're not only coming from a place of forced positivity. So the idea of smile more. Yeah, it's like, important, I guess, to be approachable, but
Yeah.
don't tell women to smile, Tom.
Well, this is only advice for men, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
No, I will say, though, I think if it's like a new friendship, I'll even go as far as to say for any friendship, like, nobody likes somebody who's a downer all the time.
Uh-oh. Is this an intervention? Nobody likes somebody who's a
doesn't
downer
like
all
somebody
the
who's a
time.
downer all the time, Christine. No, but I'm saying like, there are some people that the only time they reach out to friends are when like things aren't going well for
Right.
them.
They're in crisis,
or
or they're
they're
sad, or they need
upset.
somebody
Yeah,
to cry
they're
to.
sad. I think everybody's like familiar with the trope of like the person who gets in a relationship and you don't hear from them, and
Till
then
they
as
break
soon
up.
as they break up, they come running back
Yeah.
to their friend. So I would say like, of course, friends are there to vent sometimes.
The happy, the sad, the good, the bad.
and to talk about that stuff.
The grief,
but
the
exactly,
joy.
you got to include them in the happy stuff too. You can't just come to them every time you have problems because they're not your therapist. They're
No.
a friend.
Which goes back to how everyone should be in therapy. But, which we haven't said, but I believe.
All right.
I think maybe, Tom, you and I should pitch a new article for
Ideapod.com.
ideapod.com, which is just to revise this list because, like, be friends with people that are different from people you're already friends with instead of you can be friends with boys and girls. And then also you have to bring a balance to a friendship, especially a new friendship. You can't
Yes.
smile all the time.
Right.
Because if someone is like, I've just lost a beloved pet and you're like, well, you should smile more.
Yeah.
That's
Don't
not
tell
good
them.
balance.
But maybe send them this article and be like, you should read this, though.
Read this, especially number 5.
Step 10, ask
Oh,
people.
9.
Ask
Are you
people.
skipping around?
Yeah, I'm skipping around.
Okay.
Ask people for small favors.
Oh.
It says, okay, this might sound weird, but according to research,
Does
asking
sound
someone for a small favor can make them like you more.
What?
For example, if your podcast co-host is out on paternity leave,
This is not a small favor. I got on a bus today, everybody.
that is as long as the person likes the recipient of the favor. I've heard this before, and it has to be like a small favor. It has to be something where basically, like the way I've heard it, and it does make sense, is like you're asking somebody for something that's like legitimately a small favor, something that will not
Like,
take.
what's an example of a small favor? Like, can I borrow $1?
No, I'm trying to think of I mean, maybe if it's like a new friend, if you're like if that's somebody who's like, let's say they're, I don't know, really into like model train collecting or something.
Okay.
And that's
I'm with
something
you so far.
you know, you're not into, but maybe you'd like to get into, and maybe that's why you like kind of want to be that person's friend. If you're like, can I ask you a favor? Like, what's a book you would recommend about?
Well, that's also, yeah. So that makes sense to me because you're like, share with me something that you're passionate about, or I want to learn more about you.
But
right?
I think I'm thinking like this is after you've met the person somewhere.
Yes.
And you're going to reach out, and it's something that's not going to take them very much time, but it's going to make them feel good because
Right.
they're like, oh, I'm an expert at
yes,
this.
you've
This
made me feel
person
like an
sees
expert,
me
and you're
this
taking
way.
an interest. Exactly.
It has to be a small favor that it seems like you would really appreciate, I think.
You think you would really appreciate a book recommendation on train
No, I
collecting?
mean, I couldn't really think of another example of like a small favor.
What about something like I'm thinking of we're all at the same event and some of us live in the same neighborhood, but we're not friends. You want to share a cab back. It's not exactly a small favor, but it's kind of like we'll both have to pay less
Right.
if you do this with me. And it means we're in this space where for 20 minutes or whatever, we're in a car together.
Right.
We're also going to build some rapport, likely, unless
Yeah.
we're both just looking out the window, sitting silently, looking
Or
at our phones or something.
I'm thinking too, if you're at like a party or like a wedding or something, somewhere where everything's free.
Yeah.
And you ask somebody like,
Oh,
hey, can you grab me?
Yeah. Can I
'Cause
get another
then
piece
it's
of that
like,
cake?
now we're,
Yeah.
you know, now you can ask me for something maybe.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of that sort of like, oh, now we have noticed each other enough
Yeah.
to have like you brought the cake back to me so I could have a second piece of cake.
Right.
I'm the girl that wants the most cake, like the whole song.
The,
Contemporary reference.
the next step, communicate regularly.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Do you wonder why some people drift away? It may be because you don't keep regular contact with them. Science suggests that maintaining contact is the strongest indicator of a lasting friendship. I mean, that makes sense. Answer your phone calls, respond to texts. Being friends means both of you have to be available to each other from time to time.
Counterpoint.
Yes.
You also have to allow for some measure of elasticity. Like, I
Oh,
feel
of
like, you know,
course,
sometimes
yeah.
texts aren't going to get responded to. Sometimes it's going to take a couple
Yeah,
days.
that doesn't mean everything's. But I know, like
if you reply right away, received. That is sort
well,
of.
I have read receipts on for everything like a maniac.
Do you really?
No.
Oh, good.
Of course I
think
don't.
that's such a weird thing to do.
No, I mean, like my mom has that on, which I'm glad about because then I can see if she like saw something or
Yes,
not.
right. It's proof of life, which is
Yeah.
like very helpful. Or like with coworkers, I like when they have it on because I'm like, okay, I know you've at least seen this. You're at least on it.
Right.
But socially, no.
Yeah.
No.
Come on.
No. Communicate regularly.
Communicate regularly. I was gonna say that like there are people in my life that people that I would still consider friends, some of them, but people that like occasionally when I see, they're like, how come I don't get invited to X, Y, or Z anymore? And the answer is like, oh, you haven't shown up to the past 5 things you've been invited
Well,
to.
and isn't that such an interesting thing when I think folks are like, if I never respond and
Yeah.
I never show up, I'm still entitled to be
Right.
part of a ongoing active friendship. And it's like,
Yeah.
we haven't turned off the friendship, but I'm not going to keep reaching out to you if you never even say, I'd love to come, but I can't. And I feel like I have some friends that I say or they say, please keep reaching out, but here's why I can't come to this, or here's why I didn't come to that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we are all busy, and some people are introverts or are socially anxious or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, you shouldn't.
But you don't.
You
Go
shouldn't.
ahead.
The listener shouldn't hear this and think like, "Oh, I have to respond to everything. I have to go to everything, or else like,
No way.
all my friendships
my
are gonna
chance.
just dry up and
Right.
fade away."
Right. Friendships will perish if I don't do everything.
But at the same time, like, don't be surprised if like you're ignoring somebody over and over again and they eventually stop. And I think that's another problem with friendships. And like, for me, at least, I know it goes both ways. Like, I know there are other people that I'm good friends with that's like, I like never reach out to that person. They always reach out to me, and that sucks. I should be better about that.
The thing, what we're really talking about here is reciprocity, right? And
Yeah.
like a mutual understanding. And if there's not a mutual understanding, you can't expect the other person's going to know what you're thinking. Like, we're not psychic. I have a very good friend, actually a friend who's like, I think kind of unique in that neither of us know the same people anymore. Like, we met through a mutual that neither of us are in touch with anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And our friendship is sort of in isolation from, we don't know the same people.
Yes.
And every few months, one of us will reach out to be like, I've been thinking of you, even though you wouldn't know it because I haven't reached out to you. And then we just get into this very adorable, like, of course I know that you're
Yeah.
thinking of me and I'm thinking of you. And we'll see each other when we see each other. This is actually the friend that didn't go with me to meet Kelsey Grammer.
Wow.
Am I allowed to reference other episodes on this episode?
Yes, yeah. I mean, the episodes still have to be. It's
not
a shame
episodic,
you
yeah.
haven't seen all the Marvel movies because now I can't explain to you how like
Does it relate to like a Law and Order?
you
How
should
like
be
some
able
things
to
reference
see
each
all
other?
of them, but people who have seen any of them, but people who have seen all of them are rewarded. With,
Right. Got it. There's little Easter eggs.
There's little Easter eggs, and that's a perfect example of one.
Okay.
People
Yeah.
that didn't listen to last week, they don't know what you're talking about. But
Gristides.
I mean, it sounds like it was pretty simple, just that a friend of yours didn't come with you.
No, because we were excited to see each other. We didn't need another event, and I met Kelsey Grammer anyway, and she championed my choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, I think what we're talking about is a note I wrote to make sure. What I literally wrote here is, let's talk about vulnerability.
That's one of the steps here. Well, be sensitive, but that's not exactly it. But there was one. I think I skipped it. Oh yeah, don't be scared to be vulnerable was step 6, and I skipped that one
Well, don't be scared.
because I don't
to be
believe
vulnerable.
it.
Yeah, it's important to just be cool and never express any vulnerability or feelings or anything, right?
Emotions in general.
No,
yeah,
forget them. Throw them out the window. Imagine never showing emotions.
Well, what do you
All
mean?
I do is show emotions.
What do you mean by be vulnerable?
I mean, a lot of things. I mean, I think some of what we've already talked about is like be brave enough to be, to ask for what you're looking for. Like, hey, I'd love to hang out with you after this. Or, oh, this conversation was great. Let's continue it over surf and turf.
Well,
But
you gotta
that
be
can get a
careful
little
with that because
dicey.
they might get the wrong impression.
Oh, I guess maybe you'd have to say like, let's continue this conversation over platonic, non-romantic.
Surf or turf.
Yes. Oh, you gotta choose one or the other so that it doesn't
not
get
both.
sexual.
Both, it's
'Cause
like,
otherwise it's like, yeah,
come on.
then
I'm,
people owe
I'm
each other
splashing a
favors.
lot of money out here for God's sake on surf and turf. Who needs both of these for one dinner?
Surf and or turf. And if it's both, then unfortunately we're married.
Yeah, I lost my train.
You're going to
of
talk
thought.
about vulnerability, maybe?
Yeah, I was
Or
gonna
like
say.
crossing over the friendship threshold of like, we're not just, I'm asking you to be my friend. That's vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
we don't remember. Was it about the Marvel Universe? Was it about surf and or turf?
It wasn't about the Marvel Universe, but I think I started thinking about the Marvel Universe,
that's
and
what
then that
distracted
just
you.
kind of I was thinking about the friendships they have.
I think it's nice to have a place that you would like cement a friendship, like the Sizzler restaurant. Once you've
Boy,
gone
I
to
wish.
Sizzler with me, I've been out of business for 20 years, right? But that'd be really funny if you were like,
Now
you're
there's
truly
still a
friends
few
with me
out
if I've
there.
taken you to
I
Sizzler.
think they might only be franchised at this point.
It's awful. Get the Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity.
Oh,
this
it
way?
was this other advice I read on some website. Oh, it was this website. Hold on, it was at the top of this.
This very list you're reading now. That's on.
I don't know. They just had this like embed from I don't know, Twitter. No, not Twitter, Instagram. I don't know why, because it's not even in a post with that many likes or anything. But it's just like one of those inspirational things. And it says, your circle should want to see you win. Your circle should clap loudly when you have good news. If not, get a new circle. And that I agree with strongly. Like your friends should want you to do well.
Yes.
They should not be jealous of you.
Right.
Or like
happy or like smirking when you fall. Yeah, no way, Jose.
And like, I feel like as kids, we all had friends who are like that. And I feel like that's one of the big things that some people don't grow out of and that you do need to grow out of.
Yeah. And like, I bet people that don't grow out of it are sort of only friends. And I say that with air quotes with people that are like sort of rooting for or utilizing each other's failures to like have their own wins, which is messed up.
And like when you're a kid, it's like, all right, there's a limited pool of friends and like nobody has executive functions yet in their brain. Like,
right. And like to your point, you're only exposed to kids from your same town or that are going to your same school or whatever. And so
you can't like rate somebody off because they laughed at you when you got pants.
Right. Because they're still
that's
going to
actually funny too sometimes.
Well, it depends. But
it mostly depends on the age.
Well, how old were you the last time you got pants?
Because I'm like, if you're young, then it's fine.
Yeah, you sound like a real creepazoid.
I guess don't pants anyone.
I can't think of the last time I was pantsed.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky.
Because my adult friends, we cheer
pants
each
earlier
other's
this
wins.
week on the street by a stranger.
Mostly I wear dresses.
By somebody trying to make friends with me. And they didn't listen to this episode yet,
Tom,
unfortunately.
you've got to get a little more comfortable with being vulnerable to being
Well,
pantsed on the street by a stranger who wants to be friends with you.
But yeah, that's like I don't know. I feel like that's one of the things that I've learned most over like the past, I don't know, like 5-10 years or so, that like people that like aren't happy when you do well, it's like those at best those people have their own shit to work through and you need to
keep a
put
safe
some distance. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Or kind of questioning your success, either like, why do you have success or why don't I have success?
Yeah.
Or here's
You
how I
don't
would do
deserve
it, but
that,
I'm not doing
deserve
anything.
that.
Yeah. No.
Step 15, don't give up too easily.
That's Pepe Le Pew advice. It's a fine line.
I'll do the last two quick. Just use your online connections.
No.
You're not friends with anybody from the internet?
I am not friends with anyone from the internet. I don't think so. I think everyone I've friends
spoken
with.
to you through the internet before.
Well, I've enhanced friends through the internet, but I'm not sure I've ever like met anyone through the internet.
I've done that.
That's like my friend.
And then be present.
Oh yeah, you got to ask questions and pay attention. I think paying attention is like literally the most important thing.
Yeah.
And like find out who you're talking to. You know, one of the things I was wondering about, Tom, is like one of the ways I think people make friends with new people, but is sort of implicit or a little more subtle, is like when your close friend gets a new partner and now there's a new person on the scene and you're like friends with or not friends with the person they're dating. And if it gets serious, maybe they're like for real partner or spouse. And like, if you don't like them, good luck because they're on the scene. But it's pretty nice when you like them and you become like separate friends with both members of a partnership.
What's your point?
It's a question, I think.
Wait, what was the question?
Well, you know, I read that stat that said most adults haven't made a new friend in the last 5 years.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But sometimes the way we're exposed to new people is that like an individual we're already friends with is bringing a new individual adult, hopefully an adult on the scene.
Well, you say hopefully an adult. Unfortunately, we have a lot of friends going through midlife crises, getting divorces and dating. People on it, they're still in college a lot of times.
This is not true, everybody.
I mean, at least they're over 18, but it's still, I think, what could they possibly have in common?
Yeah, we know we run with a lot of like millionaires who like ditched their middle-aged wives and then married hot young
new
fangs.
younger model.
And then the other thing that I was also thinking about as it relates to people that adults meet, but not people like us, is like when our friends become parents, for instance, and then they start becoming friends with like their
other
kids'
parents.
friends.
Yeah, that stinks,
parents.
right?
It stinks. And I think about my own parents, and so many of they're friends with people from their whole lives, but like most of their closest friends were like the parents of the kids that played Little League with my brothers.
Right, yeah.
And then I'm like, I agree. It stinks. Most people stink.
Yeah.
So then it's like, I don't want my friends to get new friends.
Yeah.
I want them to stay friends with me, and then I want to become friends with their kids.
Right. Luckily, we have friends that have kids around the same age now.
Yeah, so we can just stay in the same
so like
circle
they're
forever.
staying in the same circle. It's like, whew.
Yep, thank goodness.
And luckily, neither of us had to have a kid to stay in
Stick
that circle.
around,
None
right.
of them did it, so it's fine for now, at least.
Right. We're still allowed in for now.
If you like the show, you can find out more at tcgt.com. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/complete guide. Follow us on Twitter at complete guide. Follow us on Twitter follow us on Instagram at tcgte. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tom Reynolds.
Hot dog burger.
That's but you have to approve people because you're a very private person.
I'm not a very
You're not
private
looking for
person,
new.
but
You're not looking
yeah,
for new friends.
I'm a discerning.
You're not on Instagram for friends.
No, I'm there to deepen friendships.
And check out our Patreon, patreon.com/complete guide.
Have
You
a
get
sip of Patron.
last week's episode, the Tom Reynolds Experience, episode 1. You probably don't even know about this.
I know about it because I saw it on my social networks, and I was like, I got to listen to that in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I have to pay? Forget it.
I have to pay. I don't get a VIP code or something. I took a bus today.
And this week, a new, you know what? I'm going to give it a little, just a tease. Not Tom Reynolds Experience episode 2.
Whoa.
Something completely new.
Is it just you?
No.
Is it a special guest?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's not a guess. It's like a new thing.
Is it Ginger?
Potentially. It's not Ginger. Patreon.com/complete guide. You can see what that is. See what all the buzz is about. I think that was all the plugs I needed to do.
I think so.
Yeah. How do you know? You've
I'm
never
new here.
listened to this show before.
Never heard of it.
Do you have any advice that I did not cover?
I mean, I think I peppered in most of my advice, but the main
I mean,
thing...
you have like a sheet. You have the kind of sheet that if you left that on the bus by accident tonight when you left, you'd break somebody's heart. Because it's just a big note about how to make friends.
It does look like a cheat sheet. For Adult Friend Finder is not what you think it is! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
So yeah, if somebody found that on the bus, like if that fell out of your pocket tonight, they'd be like, "Oh."
Well, I mean, we mostly actually talked about what I wanted to talk about, but I think the most important thing...
Be yourself.
Show up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that important to be yourself.
No. Especially if yourself
If you
sucks.
stink,
Yeah, be somebody else.
Fake
be a
it till
cooler
you make
person.
it. Yeah. Act like you smoke cigarettes and skip class.
Yeah.
I still do embody the life of a high school student. No, I think you just show up and keep showing up. And if it doesn't pan out, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like have enough friends to fill your calendar, but not so much that you have no time for yourself. Right, Dom?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I do. I barely hang on to the friendships I have.
You do alienate a lot of people all the time. That's true.
You know, and yeah. Keep your friends.
Close?
No, not too close. Keep your friends not too close.
No, keep them close.
And keep your enemies even further away
Keep
because
them,
they
yeah.
suck.
It stinks
Just
to have
leave
enemies.
them, ignore them.
And I think you got to figure out if you're a movie guy or a music guy.
Absolutely. Before some guy walks up to you at a party, have that ready. Answer it before he's even done asking
Right.
the question.
Just be like,
Hey, are
"Hi."
you I'm a music guy.
When it seems like someone is about to ask you a question, just shout what kind of guy
That's
you are.
another good way to make friends. If somebody's answering your questions, because then, then it seems like it's ESP.
Yeah, right. You want to presuppose
Wow, we're
what
really
people
on
are
the
asking.
same wavelength.
And they're like, I was actually going to ask you if you could get me a slice of cake.
Yeah.
Or you could preload the answer to the corn teeth versus shark teeth question, and then you'll make friends everywhere you go.
Don't ask anyone that question. You'll get the cops called on you if you ask that kind of weird shit to people.
I think it's interesting. Let's all discover a little more about ourselves and each other.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
That was a HeadGum podcast.